Gary Zacharias here with our week 7 and 8 overview. I'm doing something different with this fourth essay. I've had you go through 3 times doing beginning questions, further questions, rough draft, final draft. And so I thought maybe I would wait toward the end of the semester to take you through a revision process. Most people really struggle with revisions. Now, I've always given you questions, I've given you checklists, things to think about as you create your essay. But that's me. I mean, I'm helping you, but you're going to be out of the class someday and you're going to be in another class and you're going to need to work on a paper. Then what are you going to do? Hope the other teacher has a checklist for you? Maybe. But wouldn't it be nice if you could internalize a revision process that was yours and you could use for every paper, anytime you had to write a paper. So that's what I'd like to do for you today. Let me show you something. If you turn to page 98, let's go to page 98. I'll talk about what the essay is in just a minute, but look on page 98. Do you see about halfway down the page, it says revising the paper. And then it has a 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so here's the process. Here's how it's going to work. You're going to create a rough draft. We'll talk about the topic in just a minute. So you create a rough draft, and then we're going to go take a look at number 1. It says the big picture. You're only going to focus on the big things that might need to be changed. For example, the thesis. In other words, what's your main point? Do you have a main point? Is it really clear? Support. Did you put in enough support, do you think, to prove your point? How organized are your paragraphs? Why are the paragraphs in the order they're in? So that's all you're going to worry about for your first change, your first revision for this essay. So you write a rough draft. Number 1 will be your first revision. Okay, now you have 2 drafts. Now you look at that draft and you match it up with point number 2 down there, individual paragraphs. Now you begin to focus on something slightly smaller than you did for your first revision. So now for the second revision, you're going to look at things like it says here, the opener. Did you come up with something clever, interesting, some kind of grabber, story, some kind of dialogue? You're starting with a question, something shocking, so a good opener, good conclusion, good topic sentences, and again, focus on support. So that's what you're going to do when you now take it for its third version. Now you're going to look at point number 3 down there. At this point, I'm going to combine 3 and 4 just because of time. So for your next revision, you're going to look at the small areas of your individual sentences, your individual word choices, punctuation, grammar, all that kind of stuff. So when you get done, you're going to have 4 different drafts of your paper. The first one where you just did it on your own. The second one where you focused on just point number 1 down here. A third one where you just focused on point number 2 down here. And then your last one where you focused on 3 and 4 together. So why are we doing this? Or what's the principle behind this? Well, do you notice what you're doing? You're starting with the big features first. The major parts of your paper. If you don't get the major parts of your paper right, it doesn't matter if you had a good semicolon or you use capitalization the right way. Who cares? The paper's a disaster. So this is a good way to test your paper before you've invested a lot into it. So I like this revision structure. You don't have to revise like this from now on with any other paper. This is just walk through it with me for this paper and just see what you think. Maybe it's going to be something I hope that you would use for your other papers as well. So it says start with the big picture and then begin to focus tighter and tighter until you're down to the individual words, the individual punctuation, or whatever it happens to be. That's a good way to do the paper. A lot of students who don't go through a process like this often think that revising means, excuse me, revising means looking for a comma or looking for a capital letter or looking for something, the right word. And that's good. But do you see what they're doing? They're leaving the big picture alone. They're not even looking at their thesis. They're not even looking at the order of their paragraphs. They just think revising means find something small that's wrong with your paper. No, that's really editing. That's not revising. Think about the word revising. Revision. Re is to see it again, right? Revision is to look at something. Revision is a new way to look at it. So you're going to walk through 4 drafts for this paper. You didn't have to do that for the others. So I'm just doing it one time, and I hope it's something that'll appeal to you. I hope it's something that you'll be able to use. So that's going to be for the 4th essay, which is called an evaluation. So your 4th essay, look up the information in your textbook. It tells what the evaluation essay is all about. But you can guess pretty much from the title. What does it mean to evaluate something? To put it on some kind of scale. From 10 is the best, 1 is the worst, or 5 barrels of popcorn, 5 tubs of popcorn down to 1 tub of popcorn. I mean, whatever your scale is, 0 to 100. But you're going to evaluate something. And you think about all the things that you have seen, that you've been part of. You've been part of classes. You might evaluate a teacher in the past. You've been part of sports teams, maybe. You could evaluate the coach or one of the players. You could evaluate, if you're a huge music fan, you could evaluate a particular CD or a particular rock concert that you went to. You can evaluate a television show. You can evaluate a movie. So you've got all these choices out there. You can evaluate a video game. That might be good. But make sure it's something that you're involved with, you have seen it, or you've been somehow connected to it. You know why? If you can throw in your personal comments, that makes you the expert. And you want to show off in this essay. And I don't mean show off in a bad way. You want to show off that you have the right to talk about this topic. I always call it flashing your badge or showing your credentials, right? You wouldn't let somebody in your house who says, hey, can I come in? You'd say, well, who are you? And they'd say, oh, just trust me, let me come in. Well, you'd say, I don't think so. But if they flash a badge, they're from SDG&E, and there's been a leak reported for gas or something, you're probably going to let them in. Or if somebody shows a law enforcement badge, you're going to say, okay, they can come in. So what are you going to do in this essay? If let's just say it's a music CD of some kind, new release by some group, why should we trust you? What other music have you listened to? If it's a particular group, have you followed that group for a long period of time? That makes you the expert on the group. If it's a TV show, is it a show you just watched one time? I don't think that makes you an expert. Is it a show you've followed for several seasons? And do you watch other shows in that genre? You know what genre means? It's the type of show. Maybe it's a cop show, it's a medical show, it's a situational comedy, detective, or whatever it is. Do you tend to watch those kinds of shows? Then demonstrate that. Put that in your paper. Talk about watching all these other shows. Maybe it's anime of some kind, Japanese work. So why should we trust you? You've got to get that across when you write this paper. Okay, and I'm going to have you look at 2 examples of me doing an evaluation. Well, one is mine, one's another one, but I did one, I just call it a closer look at a bestseller. So years ago, I taught the Bible as literature out at Palomar College. That was great. I loved that. It was my favorite class. The Bible is unbelievably rich. If you haven't read the Bible, you're really missing out. You need to skim through it and see what all is in there. It's got some amazing stories. If you're interested, by the way, let me know and I can send you a list of just the best parts of the Bible to read, so you don't have to plug in and kind of work your way through every book and every chapter. I can tell you what's going on and what's happening in these chapters to have you read. So I hope that is of interest to you. Anyway, so I taught the Bible for quite a while. And then about, 10, 15 years ago, there was a book that came out called The Da Vinci Code. The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. And he claimed all sorts of knowledge of what was really going on in the New Testament Gospels, the stories about Jesus, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the 4 books that talk about Jesus. And he came up with all sorts of wild claims that people looked at and said, gee, I didn't know that about the Bible. Gee, I didn't know that about Jesus. Yeah, you know why people didn't know about it? Because it wasn't true. So this book was a huge bestseller, and it really bothered me because I'd read a lot about the Bible, and he was off base. He was way off base. So I wrote an evaluation of his book. So that's what's going on there. The other evaluation I'd like you to look at is the movie Avatar came out. Now, not the new Avatar, but the first Avatar by James Cameron. And there was kind of a controversy about it. Some people loved it. It really did well at the box office. But there are other people that said, nah, not so good. So I've got 2 reviews for you to look at. I didn't write them. But one person loves it and one person doesn't love it. So I want you to see the same object can inspire dislike and great love. So that's what you're going to look at when it comes to evaluation. So you're going to do a total, remember, 4 drafts this time, not just 1. So hang in there. You can do it. The second thing that you're going to be doing is a research update. This will be number 6. And then there's something really, really important that I want you to read about. It's called plagiarism. It's on pages 108 to 111. So what's going on there? Well, when you write a research paper, it's going to be very tempting. It tempts everybody, is to say, oh, here's some information, I'll put it in my paper, and there you go, here's my paper. Well, if you don't give any credit, and you turn in a paper, your name's at the top, if you don't give any credit to the authors where you got your information, and you pretend it's yours, that's plagiarism. That's the worst kind of plagiarism. That's you stealing the information and stealing the style and stealing everything from another author. And that's terrible. You don't want to do that. But there's a more subtle kind of plagiarism. And here it is. You take a piece of information, you put it in your paper, and you give credit to the author. Doesn't that clear you? Doesn't that make you free of plagiarism? No. No, it doesn't. Why? Well, one way to avoid plagiarism is to put it in your paper and put quotation marks around it and tell us where you got it. Okay, then you're not cheating at all. You're not plagiarizing at all because you said these exact words with the quotation marks come from this other source. Fine. Here's the catch. You don't want to fill your paper with that kind of quotation after quotation after quotation. You know why? You just disappeared. You're not writing your paper anymore. You're letting all these other people write your paper for you. So you can't do that. I don't want to see page after page of quotations. Do some quotations, but not page after page. So guess what you have to do? Remember when we did the summarizing and paraphrasing? That's what you have to do. You have to look at that source. You put it in your paper, but you put it in your paper in your own words. Don't take the writer's style, the writer's word choice, and pretend that it's yours. That's plagiarism. So you'll see there's some exercises, some things to look at there because it is a dangerous thing. And I just want you to be free of that and not have that be a problem. Okay, so I think that is, yeah, that's everything for the week. So that's weeks 7 and 8. And again, I wish you well. Contact me if you have any questions, gzacharias@palomar.edu. And I will be happy to get back to you and see if I can help you out. Hope it's a good week for you. Thanks.